Welcome, everybody, to Dicks, Dorks, and Destinies. I'm your host, Chapel, and today I'm here with Crash and the Kid, and we're going to talk about the Disney Star Wars films today.
And
Got
doesn't three come after two? Because you went one, two. Hello.
yeah, I did. I wanted you guys to know when I started recording. You guys have a
Well,
tendency
I
to try
mean,
to interrupt me.
well, I
We
mean,
do.
we don't have to just sit there and let you do the introduction all the time.
We don't interrupt all the time.
Just some of the time.
that caveat at the end of that. All right. So,
No, before you get started, today's episode is brought to you and sponsored by Equal Opportunity Insurance, where your privacy is our policy. Okay.
has a company
you were
bought
saying?
Yeah, I was going to say, has a company bought a favorite franchise of yours recently and completely ruined it? We got you covered with health insurance for all those aneurysms that you have watching the disaster that is the new films. Okay.
And also any remakes.
Yeah. Okay, so
Remakes, reboots, fucking.
the first thing I want to do is just kind of set up the context of what Star Wars was like for me growing up and what you guys. I'll edit that out. I know,
No,
Kid.
you won't. You'll forget about it.
No, I'll edit that out. I know Kid has some like fandom.
I have seen the first 6 films.
Okay.
And whenever I started watching them, I started watching the first, well, I say first 6, but episodes 4, 5, and 6, I watched back in like middle school.
Right.
And I liked them. I enjoyed them. They were fun for me.
Gotcha.
And then, I don't remember when episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out. But I watched episodes 1, 2, and 3, and they were pretty fucking entertaining.
I want to say they came out in. I think the Phantom Menace came out in 98 or 99.
Well, I'm going to say late 90s to mid 2000s.
Let's see here.
So,
Yeah, it came out in 1999. All right. Well, what about you, Crash? What's the context? Were you just kind of like, it's cool, but whatever?
he's Batman.
He's Batman? No, now he's Batman. I'm trying to get the context of what it was when he was a kid.
He's Batman.
Yeah, I was playing Batman. My context was I had other things to do.
Okay, that's fair. So, for me at least, like, I started watching the films when I was like 5 or 6. And
Is that the one where they say "Beam me up, Scotty"?
No. I did watch those films as well, but no, it wasn't those. So, like, when the special editions came out, I was very familiar with the films. I already knew, like, what the places were called, who was who. And I went and, my brother and I went with our neighbor. And it was so packed for the first special edition that we had to sit in the aisle, like towards the back, because there was several people sitting in the aisle watching the movie. I can't remember if they released the following 2 film special editions, either the following week or the next couple days, but we watched those as well in the theaters.
No, everyone was excited to see Dennis Quaid.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I see you guys trying to.
tried.
You're trying to push my buttons, both of you. Don't worry. Just talk about. Just stay on topic. We'll get to me having an aneurysm here in just a moment. I promise you.
I was trying to get the aneurysm early.
No. I want the aneurysm to be on time today.
Party pooper.
I'm sorry, I had to do that one. I know that Han Solo is not played by Dennis Quaid. It's Harrison Ford. I just had to do that because people confuse Harrison Ford and Dennis Quaid a lot.
You know what? It's
Ow.
okay.
They confuse them because they say they look similar, but the thing of it is Dennis Quaid is a lot younger than Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he is. Anyway, like I didn't like have a bunch of like the clothes and stuff. I wasn't like the people are now. Like my thing was I had like all of like the spaceships and stuff, and those were around $10 a pop, and I had like 25 of them. Especially like if I could find like an altered version. So I had 3 Y-wings, 2 X-wings, 2 versions of Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. I had 2 A-wings, a B-wing, the Imperial Landing Shuttle, the AT-AT, the Snowspeeder. Anyway, you get the idea. I had a lot of them.
The Red Ranger Power Zord, the White Tiger Zord.
I had all those.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you did.
Chappa,
Yeah, but
Chappa
we
was like, shut the fuck up.
I'm just like, you're trying to push my buttons, and I'm not going to fall for that.
It's all right. We got plenty of time for me to get you.
Oh, don't worry. When we get to the actual stuff, yeah, I'm going to be doing the. So, I remember when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I taught my mom into getting me this Star Wars book. It had like all the schematics and blueprints for a bunch of the different ships and vehicles.
I remember that book because a buddy of mine had that shit in middle school.
Yeah, and it had stuff that wasn't even in the movies. It had stuff like the Juggernaut, and it didn't have anything from the Separatist because that part hadn't. This was before the prequels, and that part hadn't been made yet.
No, it dealt with the fucking Rebel Alliance and the Empire.
Well, not just that, but it dealt with like Clone Wars stuff. It did have ships and vehicles that weren't in the movies. Like the Juggernaut's a huge, like, I think a 12-wheeled tank. It's about half the size of an AT-AT, and it looks really cool. They actually made it and put it in. It's got like it pops up in the Clone Wars at the last battle, but it's only there for a couple seconds, and then you're not looking at it anymore. Anyway, when I was a kid, I knew all that stuff. I could tell you, what kinds of ships were where, what roles they filled, what roles they could substitute for, and what roles they couldn't go into, and why they couldn't go into them. I could tell you what companies in the Star Wars universe made what parts for what ships. So when Disney bought it, I had a little bit of hope that they wouldn't completely tank the fucking franchise. I was wrong. but I had a little bit of hope. I was like, I haven't seen or had any new Star Wars content at that point since I think The Force Unleashed 2 had just recently come out, and that was kind
The
of
video game.
yeah, that was mid for me, very mid. I mean, it was fun, but it was an okay video game, and it did some stuff with the Force that I enjoyed, but for me, even as a kid, my thing was always about the space battles. Like, it's great. You can use the Force, you can fight with a lightsaber, but if you're in a ship and someone blasts you in the fucking space, you're dead.
So you were really big into the spacecraft that they used, so you
Yeah.
knew exactly what Gundam Wing Luke piloted.
Nice try. I appreciate that.
Almost got him. Oh, damn.
Well, the thing is if you had not added Wing to the end of that, I might have flipped out. But Gundam Wing was the first Gundam series I got into, so that was a nice bit of nostalgia in and of itself. Okay.
So you mean to tell me they didn't put 5 ships together to form one?
No. No, they did
Voltron!
not.
What a bummer.
I know, right?
They dropped the ball big time.
They did.
The Power Rangers and Voltron had that shit.
Yeah. So, anyway, so our listeners have kind of an example of how much knowledge I have. In the Star Wars Rebels show, which was like the very first thing that Disney ever did with Star Wars, they completely fuck up the storyline because Star Wars Rebels takes place about 14 years after the Empire takes over.
You're talking about the animated show?
Yeah, the 3D animated show. As I think his name is Ezra, is the main character.
Yeah.
Okay. So usually the fighters in that show are A-wings, and they're seen repeatedly being like shot down and just generally being a nuisance before running away. Now, that whole premise is retarded, and here's why. First,
It's not retarded because of a fucking Mandarin, a Twi'lek, and a former Jedi make a fucking ragtag group.
well, no, I'm not talking about their ship specifically. I'm talking about when the rebels, when their backup shows up, the rebels are always flying A-wings. And the A-wings that their friends are always flying always get shot down and blown up. And that's what's retarded. Because the show takes place like 4 or 5 years before A New Hope. And the A-wing didn't even come into existence until about halfway between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Not only that, the A-wing was an interceptor. It wasn't mass produced. It's like primary firing cannons could rotate 360 degrees to shoot at any angle that it needed to. So it didn't necessarily have to like be dogfighting with someone to be able to shoot them.
I guess the engineers dropped the plans while railing a line of cocaine off a Twi'lek's ass at a cantina.
I think that was the director, but I'm pretty sure I agree with you on that one.
I'm just going to keep trying, right?
Yeah, I know.
Here's the Star Wars I remember. I just dropped a picture.
Oh.
Yep. May the Schwartz be with you. Yeah. Okay.
Good old Spaceballs.
Yeah. Spaceballs was really good. So
I
anyway,
didn't realize it, but with that picture right there, how much the guy that they've got portraying Yoda in Spaceballs looks so much like Piccolo.
you mean Mel Brooks?
The person who wrote the movie.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. So anyway,
He
that
took the little person's job.
yeah, he did. Damn it, Peter. Get on this. You're about 40 years too late, but get on it.
Oh.
So, I was just explaining that just so you guys have so people have an understanding of just how much this shit pisses me off. Because I see things that people are like, or that people would be like, oh, I don't see what the big deal is.
The big deal is, and it goes with all 9 of the films, it's called continuity.
Yeah, it's called continuity, and not only that, someone asked me why I care so much. Well, first because I loved Star Wars for most of my life, and second because the people who make this are paid millions of dollars to get this shit right. Stop fucking it up.
Your gripe and complaint about this is the same reason why Henry Cavill is no longer allowed in DC film.
Yeah, because the people that make the films don't want to read the context of the comic books and do their due diligence, and then they get rid of people like Henry Cavill, and then they wonder why their abortion of a film it ends up on its face.
That's also a little sidebar there. That's also the reason why he's not returning to the new season whenever they come out with it for The Witcher.
Yeah.
It's what happened. I want to know something with him.
Mm-hmm.
The man looks like a fucking Greek god, but has the fucking nerdum of the highest of all nerds and geeks. What the fuck happened there on the evolutionary tree?
No, that's a
Where
good
did
sign.
those two paths cross?
That's a good sign. It means he's intelligent. Anybody who's intelligent has something that they focus and develop and attach themselves to. Even if you think someone, even if you think someone's like very stupid, they're probably not. Especially if they have something that they focus and love. Like
that man, he's even stated it. He is a big fucking gamer, comic book nerd, and everything.
He's a Warhammer fan. He's working with Amazon for a new Warhammer 40K show.
He's a Warhammer fan, a World of Warcraft fan, fucking comic books. You name it. The nerdy, geeky shit that we were into, the man's into, and he, like I said, he looks like a Greek god. So
yeah,
how'd that shit cross?
Don't know, but I'm not opposed to him.
Okay.
So
sorry for the sidetrack.
No, it's all right. So let's just go to the first film, which for the sake of this,
number 7.
For the sake of this particular episode, we're going to call The Farce Abortion.
The Farce Abortion?
Yeah. Formerly known as The Force Awakens, as The Farce Abortion.
At least that'll be somewhat helpful in this film, because in fact I've seen this one.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do like a full breakdown. I'm just going to do some of the cliff notes of shit that bothers me about this film. Which
thank goodness. I ain't got time for all that.
So Okay, the ship comes out of nowhere, and people
They
land.
just like the RKO. It's out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's out of nowhere. Uh, we get Kylo Ren's one and only intimidating scene in the entire trilogy, and that's where
What, where he acts like his grandfather and blows up a planet?
no, when he's on the planet, they're in front of this tiny little village that they're, I don't know why they're in this tiny little village looking for information that this nobody has, but the dude tries to shoot him with a blaster, and he's able to stop the blast in midair and hold it there while the rest of the scene continues. That was the only intimidating part that Kylo Ren ever had for all three of the films. Like, okay, that's,
What, his force ability?
yeah, well, being able to have enough force power to stop a laser blast in midair is pretty impressive.
I mean, I can name you a few other people that could more than likely pull that off.
Well, I mean, I don't know anyone in the movies that could do it. Extended universe, there was a guy that was about that powerful. I mean, if we want to go
If
with,
they wrote it in the script, they'd be able to do it.
yeah, I know, right?
See, that's where you're at with the opening scene there, and the most intimidating thing of Kylo Ren. To me, that film, when you see Kylo's fucking lightsaber, diminishes everything.
Yeah, yeah, because doesn't he like come walking out with it already lit up?
I think so.
Or does he like? I don't remember if he lights it up to try to intimidate. Disney also has this problem where a character will do something like for the audience, but in context of whatever's going on in the movie or in the show, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, they capture dude, and they're threatening to like kill all these villagers if dude doesn't give them the information they want. And then dude just starts telling jokes. You're taking me out of the seriousness of this, and Disney's really bad about this. I hate this shit when it comes up, especially in like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3, where they're trying to have a serious moment with emotional impact, and they fucking ruin it with a stupid joke.
I don't know. I mean, in Guardians of Galaxy 1, Peter Quill flips off the fucking Nova Corps, so I mean that
Well,
was
no, the thing is it's about timing. It makes sense in the first one because he doesn't care. In
well, I mean, in the comic books and everything else, Peter Quill never really gives a fuck about Nova Corps anyway.
right, but
Even when they take on a kid from Nova Corps.
yeah, well, my point is that in Guardians of the Galaxy, like you'll have like a moment where like they're trying, you'll have two characters trying to have an emotional moment, and they'll do like, hey Peter, you know you're on the you're we can all hear you, or they'll have Drax just like laugh at him for no reason, and it just it takes away from the impact of the movie. They're all about emotional impact unless it's at the expense of a joke. It's bad writing, man. It's bad writing.
There's one that I'll do you for.
Better guard
Infinity
the holes
Wars.
he's gonna do you for.
Infinity Wars. Whenever the Guardians meet the King of the Avengers, Peter comes in. Where's Gamora? Iron Man, Tony Stark goes, I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora? Drax is underfoot. I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
Okay, that one's good though, because that one's like an action scene where they need to tone down the situation. Not a situation where it's like, okay, we're trying to have a serious emotional connect here, and you break the tension by having someone just come in and tell a joke or making a joke of the situation. Well, that's a whole nother show in and of itself. Let's continue. Okay, probably the biggest problem I have with this film is when Rey just hops into the Millennium Falcon and starts flying it around like she's been doing it all her life.
Wasn't the Millennium Falcon always a two-person piloted ship anyways?
Yes, it was, and that is my biggest issue. You have to have a co-pilot to fly the ship properly.
Han Solo has had a fucking Wookiee help him pilot that ship.
Well, I mean, the only time you ever see anybody in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon by themselves is when it's not actually moving. And that's during the Empire Strikes Back when they're repairing the ship. The rest of the time, they have two pilots. They have Han and Chewie flying it most of the time, and then when they give it to Lando to fly during the last battle in Return of the Jedi, he has another co-pilot. In fact, he has if you look in the cockpit in Return of the Jedi, he has 5 people behind him doing all kinds of crazy stuff so that they can fly the Millennium Falcon. And she's over here swooping and pulling off all these maneuvers. There's no fucking way she should be able to do that. Especially with the only person who would be her co-pilot in one of the turrets shooting at the TIE fighters.
Which is her mech droid BB-8.
No, that was Finn. Finn was in the turret.
Oh, Finn?
Yeah. Who is the most wasted character in the Disney Star Wars films. He's a stormtrooper who breaks his brainwashing. There's so much story you could tell with that, and they just kind of like, okay, we're done with him now.
I thought all stormtroopers were clones.
No. The Clone War broke that off. So they did the clones for the Clone War so that they could have enough people to counteract the droids. However, after the Emperor took control, he found out that there was a whole subroutine of multiple orders, including one to kill him if need be. So he killed off all the clones and just started basically a draft for the Empire.
I'll keep that one myself.
Are you sure? You don't usually.
For Super Earth!
I think Crash has crashed out on us.
I'm listening.
Okay. Anyway.
Stormtroopers are now Helldivers.
So.
You can tell the ones that went outside.
Yep. So, after they get away from the planet, they get caught on the ship, and you find out it's Han Solo who's been looking for the Millennium Falcon. How it got stolen from him, I don't know. And secondly, they made him this bumbling... Oh, God. They made him into a deadbeat dad. It was almost like the guy who wrote the movie saw Han Solo in the cantina in the first film, and that was the only thing he watched. And was like, okay, I know who Han Solo is now. No. That ignores, like, entire character arcs that happened over 3 movies. And I say that because they treat him like they ignored his character arcs for all 3 movies that he was in.
I mean, they kind of did.
Yeah. And it's not good.
Maybe they slept through the 3 movies.
Kylo Ren's fucking anger issues stem because Daddy didn't love him enough.
Okay. Hold the Kylo Ren thought. Crash, I totally get where you're coming from. Maybe they slept through the movies. They're paid millions of dollars not to do that. So maybe they should have someone near to smack the shit out of them when they start to fall asleep.
Hey, I pay the theaters to watch a movie and I sleep.
You don't pay the theaters to watch a movie. You pay the theaters to go take a nap.
Exactly.
There's a difference.
Seats are comfy. Recline back.
His wife is always having to smack him. Stop snoring. I'm trying to hear. Anyway, getting back to what you said. No, his anger issues supposedly stem from what happened before he fell. I don't know. And then you have the whole Snoke situation. And then the film ended. And I didn't like it, but I gave it a pass because it had a lot of like potential setups. And then we get to The Lost Jackass. And all of that potential just fell apart because the writer director didn't give a shit about anything that in the previous film.
And people are going to be sitting there wondering, he's talking about The Last Jedi.
Yeah, sorry. The Last Jedi, no, it's The Lost Jackass. Which was Rian Johnson.
And in that film, The Last Jackass or The Lost Jackass, Luke Skywalker has been living off on some distant world and planet after he failed to... I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. I'm going to crack this joke, and you're probably going to lose it. After he failed to Scoutmaster Kevin, his nephew, into the Jedi Order.
Yeah, okay. Hang on. Not only that, but she hands him his lightsaber, which, I don't know if the rest of you remember, fell into a gas giant. After it got cut off.
This. And we talked about this in a previous episode, and I was waiting for it to come back up. Yes, I remember it. His fucking hand got cut off by dear old daddy, and he loses his lightsaber, and it falls down the fucking whatever that they're in a gas giant. But yet somehow magically the big bug-eyed alien lady finds it and gives it to Rey.
And then when she's asked about it, she says, "A good story for another time." What?
Maybe she was the gas giant.
She collapsed in on herself like a black hole.
And then regurgitated Luke's lost lightsaber.
She's like, oh, where did that come from?
I mean, sometimes
That's
2
where,
and 2 don't make 4.
because I remember having this conversation, and I swear to God that fight actually took place on a ship, and you're telling me that it was taking place in like some type of facility on the planet or around the planet.
No, it took place on Bespin, and Bespin was a city floating at the top of the gas giant in the upper atmosphere. Because what they did was Bespin mined the gas of the gas giant for fuel. And that's why the Empire was interested in it. Secondly, that's why they set up the trap there, because Lando was in charge of running that. Then you have the fight in the city. As they descend into the city, into the lower parts of the city, Luke gets his hand cut off, and he decides, fuck this, I'll kill myself rather than be a part of me, my dad and I taking over the galaxy. He falls, goes and lands in a trash chute, which is basically what it is, because all the trash from the city just got dumped into the gas giant. Because it's not going to be polluting anything. It's just going to fall until it gets compressed into nothing, and then joins the rest of the material that's in the planet anyway.
Maybe that's how she fucking came across the lightsaber. She was dumpster diving. There we go.
She's holding a sign and somebody donated it to her.
I mean, she is about the size of a raccoon, so.
Sign said, anything will help. Here you go.
A hand attached to a lightsaber.
Yeah. I don't know.
That movie, that scene that we're talking about, that raised a lot of fucking questions for me, because I don't see how Luke's original lightsaber survived.
It shouldn't have. That's the point.
And then she ends up with it, ends up on the faraway distant galaxy planet that Luke's on, presents it to him.
Yeah.
How?
Apparently that was the whole point of, like, the first movie was tracking down Luke Skywalker and where he went to, because they again don't understand Star Wars ships. So when you get to the second film, you see that his X-wing is like in the ocean, like he landed it in the ocean and climbed out. And he did not take R2 with him, which was a R2 was in the first film and was not with Luke that entire time. How did Luke get there? Because the X-wing.
That's my question too. I mean, wasn't like the X-wings and the Y-wings and shit like that? Didn't they require an astromech? Even before that, in the original first 3 films, when Anakin was piloting shit, the ships required astromech droids to help them fucking pilot it.
Yeah, well, not just that, but they were also the navigation system for the hyperdrives. He can't fly to another system without an astromech droid in there. And because Luke always used the same X-wing, he always had R2-D2 as his astromech droid. That being said, because of that,
What do? Have R2 kick in the hyperdrive and then eject him out of it before he fucking took off?
who knows? The thing is that these people can't even keep their own rules in their. But well, hang on. First, let's go to one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in a movie, and that is the bombing run at the beginning of the second movie. These retarded ass vehicles, and they were only made because Rian Johnson wanted something that looked like a B-52 bomber. Are systematically slaughtered by a single TIE fighter hitting one and exploding it. And then it causes a chain reaction that destroys the rest of the bombers. There's only one that escapes. Now, I don't know if people realize how big space is, but the idea that that would happen is the statistics of that happening are astronomical. I don't understand why the rebels in the future would use this ship anyway, because A, they have two ships that are bombers that they could use instead that are functionally better. One being the Y-Wing and the other being the B-Wing, which the B-Wing was created shortly before Return of the Jedi in original canon. In the Rebels show, they also made it a thing in the later seasons. It was kind of stupid. The only thing they got right about that particular episode about the B-Wing was that the cockpit was on a gyroscope, so you could move. Basically, the ship moved around the cockpit. The Y-Wing was slow. The B-Wing was a little slower, but while the Y-Wing was old and had been used since like late Clone Wars, the B-Wing was brand new. It was more heavily armored. It had more weapons. And you know what the great thing about having those bombers is? They use torpedoes instead of bombs. So they don't have to drop anything in space where there's a vacuum and you don't have any gravity to pull the bomb down.
Oh. The gyroscopic cockpit stolen from Vulcan technology.
Nice try. Oh, you're making an effort today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I am. I've got to do it. Crash isn't pulling his weight, so I've got to take up the slack.
No, I was just wondering when Luke met Spock. In which movie?
That was a Babylon 5 short film.
While they were running from the Cylons.
Yeah. And then Moya showed up, followed by a Peacekeeper fleet. See, I can do this all day.
It's no fun when you join in. Actually, it is quite comical. But yeah, no, with all that, I mean,
So, like, what was the... hang on. TLJ bomber. the Star Fortress heavy bomber. Let's see. It had. It doesn't say how many medium laser cannons it had. It had a magnetic proton bombs, and a bomber magazine, which was the thing at the bottom of the. Oh my god, that's so stupid! Why would you use this stupid thing?
Cannon.
Why would you use this stupid thing when you have the option of the B-wing starfighter, which
Budget cuts.
yeah. Well, the B-wing starfighter is arguably cheaper, and it has more armaments. It has 3 laser cannons, a heavy laser cannon, 3 proton torpedo launchers, 4 fire-length blasters.
Maybe they were setting up their people with using the weaker one of the two. You know, get rid of some of the population.
I appreciate that argument, but it doesn't make any sense.
What I'm here for.
Yep, I appreciate that.
They had life insurance on all of them, so they got to collect the money.
That ship looks like an old plane dragging its balls.
Oh, this is
teabagging the enemies since day one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they. I don't know. It's almost like they did not care about where they were getting this stuff from. They were just like, we need to make this as bad as possible so that we can ruin this cultural anomaly, I guess.
But they still made money, didn't they?
Yep.
Arguably for the first 2. And then after that, they started losing money on every Star Wars thing that they touched. They definitely lost money on The Rise of Skywalker, and they lost money on everything that came out after that.
Oh, I was so hoping that you would mention it, but you didn't, so...
Whose money they didn't get?
Yours?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And mine?
Yeah. Yeah, me too. You know why? Because I bootlegged all of the Disney films that I watched. I didn't pay. I watched the first 2 of the Disney Star Wars films, and I still want a refund, even though I didn't pay for it.
I didn't even watch the last film, Rise of Skywalker.
I fell asleep through one of them. No, that was Warcraft. Yeah, I fell asleep through Warcraft.
I don't know. It was not good.
I mean, at this point, the consensus here is anything that Disney touches, Disney ruins.
Well, they got The Simpsons now, so...
At least we got the pleasure of Simpsons did it before Disney bought them.
Right. I will say, out of everything that Disney has a hand in, at least they didn't ruin fucking Deadpool 3.
I don't know. That's arguable. Because everything that he went through in the first two Deadpool films, he seems to forget whenever 3 comes along.
No, he remembers it.
He's just trying to get on with his life. That's why he had new hair, new friends, new job.
No, he kept some of the friends from the second one. Remember, he went back in time to save Peter.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
he
that
killed their
and that and
nice
that
version of
timeline
it.
and that timeline altering shit. That's the reason why the TVA was after him to begin with.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm saying at the beginning of the film, it's like he forgot the second 2 films. He learns everything again by the end of it. But like, he wanted to be part of a team. He created the X-Force. He wanted to be, have a family. He had a family through his friends. And those were the first 2 films. And it seems like at the beginning of Deadpool and Wolverine, he's forgotten all that he's already gone through. And everything's just kind of played up for laughs.
Yeah, I mean, still, it's a good film. I like Deadpool.
That's fair. Like it's not the insanity that was the Star Wars films.
I don't know. They started doing Daredevil again.
Yeah, I heard that hasn't done very well.
I seen a trailer. I don't even know if it's going to be a season or if it's going to be.
It's the season. They got 3 episodes so far.
Oh, it is a season. They teed that bitch up like it's going to be a movie.
No, I watched the 3 episodes. It seems okay. Kingpin is now mayor of New York by episode 3. Foggy died in episode 1.
Wilson Fisk.
Yep.
I don't know. I still have my issue with that one. I mean, I know in the comics Wilson Fisk was not a white guy, or was a white guy, not a black guy. But but the atrocity that gave us Ben Affleck as Daredevil, I kind of like Michael Duncan Clark as Wilson Fisk.
Okay.
His stature alone that screamed Fisk to me.
Well, he was a big old dude.
Yeah.
I don't even know
The guy that's playing him now is the one that killed himself in Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, that's who's playing Wilson Fisk in this?
Yeah.
He played him in the other seasons too.
Yeah, he did.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
So Private Pile.
Yeah. And he was in Men in Black, and he was also in Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yeah. No. Criminal Intent.
Criminal Intent, yeah.
Because right now Daredevil ain't being Daredevil.
Vincent D'Onofrio. That's who it is. Wait, in Men in Black, was he the fucking giant? No, I don't think he was the giant cockroach.
Yeah,
dude,
he was.
Was he?
He was. Yeah. He was the flesh suit that the giant cockroach was walking around as.
No, he was the Egger suit.
Yeah.
Hey, she didn't go in with 200,000. She's leaving with 200,000. So that's a win.
I guess that's more than what she came for, or more than what she came in with.
Right. Well, Crash is gonna go crash.
Well, you have a good one, man.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.
Later, Crash.
See ya.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you had a good time listening to this.
We're ending the episode.
Yeah. We will see you next time. I have no idea what we're going to talk about next time, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out. We got a little time before the next episode, anyways.
Yeah, we do. All right.
Ah.
We'll see you later, everyone.